तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Hari Om and good evening to all. The topic for the day is from distress to de-stress, or few aspects of stress management. Stress is one of the, has become one of the most common phenomenon universally. When people are working as professionals and in corporate, they, at least in the modern context, we can say everybody has taken stress and strain to be part and parcel of the corporate life. That means if you have to work in corporate sector, you have to be a professional, you have to accept stress and strain to be an inseparable part of your life, is sort of the mindset. It is accepted. But what we find is that it is not confined to the working group alone. Let's say if a person is having an active working life from the age of 20, 21 to 58, 60 years, which is like the average normal working years, it is not only confined to the age group of this span of 40 years. Stress has attacked all people at all levels of the society. A politician, not to talk about sports persons. Nowadays, sports persons have so many other people who travel with them to take care. So there are people who take care of their physical body. Like that, there are also counselors that are there going along with the teams now. Not to talk about film actors. Very many people have undergone tremendous stress and strain and still maybe are going through, which has resulted even in suicides. At the peak of their career, many actors and actresses have committed suicide. And even though we see them smiling and being in jolly good mood in parties and other thing, but if we read in between their lines, even in their private interviews, we see that they undergo a lot of stress. We have seen this in interviews of even great phenomenal actors who have reached the stardom, Amitabh Bachchan and Shah Rukh Khan and Rajnikant and various. I'm just giving as an example, but it applies to all. And then we find that, suppose you may say, if it is work related and it is related to those who are in the corporate or office, housewives are stressed. I mean, it is phenomenal work that they do in the house also, not to deny anything on that count, but I'm saying, one may ask, what is it that they have to face? All that they need to just take care of the house. What amount of stress they go through, and it is seen in then the marital relationships and the effects of that. And finally, it has caught up with the students also. At least in 1-2 generations back, we did not know this. Now, Prime Minister has to speak to students how to release them of the examination pressure. Education has become stress, not just for students. If you go to the teachers, we have to sympathize with them also. One of the statistics, it says in America, is the percentage of suicides that is committed by psychiatrists. That percentage is much more than people belonging to the other sections. See, we said that stress is affecting all sections, but the percentage that is affecting in the psychiatrists is little more. And they try to study that, because when others are stressed, these psychiatrists are supposed to help them. And in a way, they come talk to the psychiatrist, pour out all their problems, and they somewhat, in a whatever way, at least get some temporary relief and go. But if the psychiatrist is not prepared, if he is not strong enough, and if he is not objective enough, he is not able to take the pressure of all the encounters that he is having in his life. Plus, various people who are even counseling others as to how to lead their lives properly are themselves not. We are not saying that they must be role models, but they are not even able to apply the basic principles of the life in their own personal lives. So, on what basis are they going to even give advice and counseling to others? So, psychiatrists, they are affected. And one may think that a person who is not connected with all these things, one who is sort of in a spiritual field, one who has taken the refuge of religion, God, and he is in a different world, as it were. So he should be free of all these things, and at least people look up to them, they go to them for solace and other things. But there are so-called spiritual masters and people in the spiritual field who themselves are very much stressed. We have heard story about a young Swamiji related this to us in academy, that one of the bright young students of the first batch of the mission, and after the course was over, he sort of packed his bags and went to Himalayas, and he built himself a small hut or a hermitage from where he can do his sadhana. Like that it was. So that means he was very serious in his pursuit, and he was very determined to achieve self-realization. He had sort of cut himself off the society, and in the banks of a river there, in sort of complete isolation he was there. Couple of years later, the news was that he had shot himself with a pistol. And how did he get the pistol? By the time there was either the China war or the Pakistan war at that point of time, and the government had given some people in the border areas like that certain facilities for self-protection. And so he was also given, and the only time that he used that was to shoot himself and kill himself. Very sad. Here is a person who is committed in a spiritual field, but this is what it is. We assess, or we come to a conclusion that yes, he may be even sincere to begin with, all in a spiritual field, but what amount of stress he must have undergone in his mind to come to that sort of extreme conclusion, extreme tragedy it is. So nobody is exempt. That is the point we are coming at. It is a universal phenomenon which, if it affects every section of the society in every age group, irrespective of caste, community, gender, profession, everything, so that means there is something which is universal about it, which is the root cause also. And in most cases, people, even if they understand that they are stressed, they start in the wrong end of the problem to seek solution. And maximum they go is up to treating the level of the symptoms. If a person just is going to be relieved of stress by treating some symptoms, it is like taking in a Saradon or some pill for a headache. It might give you relief at that point of time, but a good doctor should probe to find out what is causing the headache or what is the root cause of that headache. If I come to your house and I am finding a sort of a foul smell, and you being there, maybe you are used to that smell or you are not aware of that smell. So I ask you, don't you smell something here? Then you say, yeah, something is there. So wait, and you bring in a room freshener and you spray it all around. For a moment, the smell is all gone and there is all nice perfume. When you go inside to make a coffee or something, I become curious and I see here and there, behind the curtain there's a dead rat and the foul smell is coming from the dead rat. After you come, I point out the dead rat to you. Now, after that, do I need to tell you anything as to what is to be done to remove the foul smell? That need not be told at all. Because now we know that the root cause of the foul smell is emanating from the rat. Exactly like that. Vedanta takes you to the root cause of the problem. It points out what is the root cause of stress. Once you are shown the root cause, you yourself will be equipped in such a way that you will want to get out of that stress and you will know the path to do that also. So, always we should go into the root cause analysis. All over the world, people are also having a lot of courses and other things that they undergo, particularly with reference to stress management. I mean, jokingly, the teacher says, if everything fails in your life, you can become a stress management consultant, something like that. You can become a stress management teacher. That is always a very what you call a recession-proof industry. It is. In 2008, also in America, when there was downturn and a lot of people went through depression and all, the persons who were teaching yoga and meditation and this and that, there was tremendous demand for them. Like that it was. So what people want is, even if an awareness comes that they are in stress and they want to get rid of it, they want certain immediate solutions, quick fix solutions. That will not work. So why do people then, there's a lot of mushrooming of meditation and yoga centers all over the world, particularly in the West. In the last, what we can say, 30, 40 or even 5 decades, a lot of Indian swamis who have gone to the West also, they have popularized spirituality to that extent. It's okay. But what is popularized mainly is yoga and meditation. And we see that there has been a tremendous increase in the awareness about yoga, and courses of transcendental meditation and various things are even introduced in certain universities in the West. Meditation per se is a very great technique, very highly scientific technique also, and its effects are phenomenal. And that is why there's one chapter full dhyana yoga allotted to meditation in Bhagavad Gita also. But the question arises, who is qualified to meditate and who is the adhikari? What is the real purpose of meditation? How to become meditative? That is the question. So for each and everything, in order to get to the root cause and solve it on a long term and a permanent basis, you need to go methodically, scientifically, and you have to give yourself that much time also. Because let us say, if a tumor is causing the headache in your brain, it is not caused overnight. It has been collecting over a period of time. So you cannot just do something to get rid of it immediately. Exactly like that, stress or strain, the pressure of the mind, it is built in your system over a period of time. So if anybody says that can be relieved in just like this, it is not scientific. A person who has collected fat and become obese at the body level, if he is aware and if he wants to get rid of it, you cannot have a pill or suddenly do some operation or something and remove it. That might be a possibility, but there might be various side effects to it. So you need to work on a diet program, you need to work on a yoga schedule, you need to work on certain other physical fitness and exercises. This is the way. So you give yourself time, and as long as you're on the right path, it is a matter of time before you are going to get to your desired destination. So therefore, we need to always go into the root cause analysis, right? Now the next question arises as to what is the root cause of stress. The whole world believes that it is the external phenomenon or something external to them that is the cause of their stress. You ask anybody, how are you? He will say, I'm fine, but there is some problems here and there. So are you completely free from stress? No. That nobody can say. Either it is little less or little more, and we all say we all undergo through some amount of stress. So what is the root cause of stress? Everything is fine with my life, except my wife is irritable. So the cause of the stress is the irritability of my wife. If you ask that lady, she will say everything in the life is good except maybe the husband who is hysterical or something like that. So for her, the cause is the husband. And at every point of time, from the stories that they say, it is not their concocting or something, it may seem very genuine also. Everything is fine, husband and wife relationship, children are very good, wealth is good, but what to do? Pollution in where I stay, that is causing me. I am not able to have that type of atmosphere which I want. So therefore, pollution is causing stress. Traffic jam. Traffic jam in Calcutta is always causing stress. It could be anything. See, everything is fine. This person has even gone through experiences of life, ups and downs, and now somewhat stabilized. But what is causing stress now? My hair is falling. It could be gray hair. It could, or I am not able to understand this one particular concept. I'm into Vedanta now, okay? But this one particular concept, however much I try, I'm not able to understand. That is causing me stress. So in one of the sessions in the corporate, it was very interesting. One person, he of course he brought in a sense of humor to the whole situation there. But when we were discussing this in the first session as to what is the cause of stress, and a couple of them were saying, and we were noting down the points, he said that, sir, actually I have a lot of work to complete, and the management has now sort of forced me to attend this session. This session is actually causing me stress. This particular session, which is a stress management session, which he did not want to. So it could be that this session also could cause stress to somebody. Yeah. So, or it could be some unconnected factor. They are all, everything is going well in life, but somehow he is not able to see that, let's say, this Narendra Modi is still the prime minister. That he is not able to deserve from. Everything was very good till 2014. It was good. After that, some sort of stress has come into us. That prick is not going out of his system. Anything, it could be Obama, Trump, or anybody for that matter. But so everybody points out to something or the other. It could be that Federer is losing and he's not won any championship since when? I don't know, 2018 or something. He has not yet won. A Federer fan is stressed, and particularly stressed when Nadal wins or something like that. So unconnected, but we always point out the cause of stress to something external to us. This is what is causing me stress. Nobody is saying, genuinely nobody is saying, I am stressed, what is wrong with me? So the underlying factor when I say that this is causing me stress and that is causing me stress is that I am perfect. But if that correction is made, then everything is all right. If this correction alone is made, everything is all right. So we are genuinely not willing to take the responsibility of the stress upon ourselves. And this is where Vedanta comes in. The first and the last lesson, the only lesson that we learn about stress is that stress is an internal phenomenon. Stress is never an external phenomenon. Stress is purely an internal phenomenon. This do not take out of your mind at any point of time. However much it might be a situation that is pressurizing also, the fundamental theorem doesn't change. Immortal verse, the first verse that Sri Bhagavan Vaja comes in Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, verse 2. He says, Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupastitam. This half a verse is very beautiful verse, very nicely constructed. He says, in this hour of crisis, whence has the dejection come upon you? O Arjuna, Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupastitam. A person whose business is there and his ship is coming, and a lot of valuable goods are there, and suddenly the ship capsizes and complete loss, and therefore he is in a very terrible shock and is extremely agitated, distressed, and he is sitting like that. You go to him and say, okay man, the ship is gone, your goods are gone, it is a tragedy. Why are you stressed? Suppose if I ask a question like this, it seems prima facie absurd, and that is exactly what Lord Krishna's question translates to. Okay, Arjuna, it is a very critical situation, that you are seeing maybe your grandfather and guru and various other people on the other side, and it's a war. It's not a joke. It's a war situation, life or death situation. All that is fine. But why are you stressed about it? So, what is the basic lesson? In fact, Swamiji's stress management seminar is derived from mainly this verse and one more verse, which we'll see if it comes along today. Um, so, what is it that he is saying? And a crisis can be caused by an external situation. Death in the family, definitely it's a great crisis, tragedy. Sudden cash loss, a great tragedy, that is. Stock market crash and suddenly something happens, or government has taken your only property for some reason, and it's a great crisis. It can be anything like that. So crisis can be caused by an external phenomenon, but to be stressed about it or not, that is in your hands. That is the key point here. So, an external circumstance can cause problem, can cause crisis, can cause situations which are not easy to handle, correct? But to how to handle it, to be stressed about it or not stressed about it, or how to sail through that, that is entirely in your hands. In any experience, there are two factors. One is the subject and another is the object. If the object or the world were to cause stress, then it should cause stress to all the people at all points of time in all places. That is not the case. The common example that Swamiji always gives is that a person loves cigarette and he picks up a cigarette and smokes and he finds pleasure. And genuinely he finds very great relief and pleasure. Another person detests smoke and he runs away from cigarette. So if cigarette were to produce pleasure, it should produce pleasure to all persons. That is not the case. For one person it is joy, for another person it is a sorrow. Not only that, for the same person, at one point it could be joy, at another point, suppose if it is very hot and if he doesn't feel like smoking, at that point, if anybody offers, he may say no. But maybe after a meal and it's in a cold climate and he wants to have a puff or something, that he may say yes. So same person in different place or a different time, he himself is relating to the same object differently. So therefore, it is very clear that it is not in the object, but in your relationship with the object. So by the process of elimination, if you remove the object away, what is remaining is subject. Therefore, it is a phenomenon that is related to subject. The subject's relationship with the object. So therefore, stress or happy state of mind, both are internal phenomenon. Mind in its own place can cause a heaven of hell and hell of heaven. That is the power of the mind. So it is purely internal to you. There is a famous quote by German thinker Arthur Schopenhauer. He says, it is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. I repeat, it is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. Why is this quote relevant? Is because always, all the time, we are only searching for this elusive thing called happiness outside us. However difficult it is, you have to start the journey to find it within yourself only. In the process, you have to first get over all the pinpricks and minor problems, then you will ultimately go to the state of permanent bliss. That's a long way to go, but at least we have to reach a state where we are somewhat not affected by so-called problems of life. In order to get over the pinpricks of life, our Swamiji says that you need not more than 10, maximum 15% of this knowledge. Your intellect must be developed only to such an extent that you are able to smoothly sail through. That's all is required. You need to just make your vehicle travel just 1 or 2 feet above the road. I'm just giving it as an example, so that any bumper or any pothole does not affect you. Like that, and it is not. We are not talking about flying in a balloon or an aircraft. It is just that it has to. You have to lift yourself a little bit. That's all it is. And most of the times, what we are caught up in, and what is the stress that is creating problem for us, these are all very silly matters. And therefore, the conclusion of the initial analysis is that stress is never and can never be an external phenomenon. It is only an internal phenomenon. Therefore, the question arises as to what is internal. This we have dealt in detail, and you may go through even the work-life harmony talk, which is there in YouTube also. When we say internal, internal refers to that aspect of your personality which you see when you close your eyes, as simple as that. So it refers to your thoughts, it refers to your mind and intellect. So it is the uncontrolled aspect of your mind that causes the stress. Therefore, you need to develop the intellect to control the mind. So the essence of self-management is that intellect should hold the mind in its place and not suppress it, but give it a sense of direction or dimension that is going to relieve you. That is the essence of self-management, and therefore that person is sort of somewhat a controlled person, a person who is above stress. So what is these two aspects of the mind and intellect? We'll quickly go through. It is the uncontrolled aspect of your thoughts is called as the mind, and the controlled aspect of the thought is called your intellect. So on the left hand side, you see that all the aspects which are the cause of the stress. When the mind is unsteady, when the mind is fickle, when it is not in one place, here and there when it goes, that is the cause of stress. On the other hand, intellect is able to keep the mind focused. Then you can make it pinpointed in the task that is there. Haven't you noticed, when you are caught up in something in a proper way, that time you are not actually stressed. In fact, you may not realize that is the time of your joy actually. And mind has this tendency to be constantly in worry and anxiety, which we'll see little later also. But once the mind is under control, it is actually very relaxed. It is it's carefree in that sense. Nothing can touch it. Uncontrolled mind can take any form or any dimension. It can go to any extent it can go. So like wind, it is violent and it's turbulent. See, even if you're generally a controlled person in one particular area, if the mind is uncontrolled and it's let loose that time, there it causes a lot of turbulence and restlessness. That's why I said a person could be even majorly okay and he's in a spiritual path or whatever, he is at least initiated into the spiritual path, but one particular thing, if he is not able to control there, then it becomes very restless. It could be jealousy and other things that are happening at a different level altogether. So that is definitely, these things cause stress. On the other side is a calm and composed mind that can never ever cause any problem. And this nature of the mind is what we need to focus on. In fact, in order to even arrive at the definition of stress, is that insatiable demands. It's called desires. It constantly, like fire, keeps on generating desires. And every desire generated has the potential and force and energy behind it. And once that energy goes in different directions and different dimensions, and the insatiability comes there, because world is not designed to fulfill all your demands at all points of time. It is just not possible. Even if you, however much you try to keep all the things possible in the world at your beck and call and to be most conducive, It is just not possible. Therefore, the insatiable demands is the root cause. Because as long as they are there, definitely at some level or the other, stress and strain will be there. On the other hand, when it is controlled by the intellect, it takes the form of an aim or an ambition or aspiration. They are also in a way desires only, but they operate at a higher level. We are talking here about even a relative level of controlling the stress. A person who has to, let us say, go through extreme agitation all the time, and that is having a telling impact on his health, that is not desirable at all. Okay, we are not talking about a jnani, yogi, or a renunciate here. I also have desires, I have anger, I know I have jealousy, all that is fine. But how can I at least keep them under check? How can I keep them under some sort of a control so that the impact of them is not affecting my day to day routine at least? That must be our first aim. So, for which, if you go to the right side, it is the aim, ambition, aspiration. If that sort of focused desire, if you are able to develop, that is relatively better. So, the essence of self-management is to shift the focus from mind to intellect, so that the intellect is at least strong enough to give some sort of a control and guidance to the mind. Mind is like that river, which is very powerful. If the banks are strong, however much forceful the river is, it is going to be beneficial only. It can produce electricity if it flows fast, like that it is. But if the banks are weak, then it inundates the field and it causes loss of property and loss of life and everything, disease, death, anything can happen. Same river, same mind. Same mind can be extremely productive if it is channelized properly. Same mind can be extremely destructive for you and definitely for others if it is not controlled. So therefore, we come here to the definition of stress, that stress is the agitation caused in the mind due to unfulfilled desires. In a simple way, Swamiji defines it like this. As long as there are unfulfilled desires in the mind, some sort of agitation will be there. And this is what what you call it in Hindi, you can call it tanav. Same thing that they use in other pressure. Alutam, they say in Tamil. That means there is something that is pressing you. Why it is pressing? Because something is wanting to pop up and fulfill itself and it is not getting, means therefore that pressure, what pressure you feel inside, that can be equated to stress. So stress is the agitation caused in the mind due to unfulfilled desires. At various levels, how step by step it affects, and what are the various ways in which the symptoms occur in our body is given by one of the beautiful charts of Swamiji. He says, imagine the actions done by you are either propelled by the mind or by the intellect. Body cannot act by itself. It needs a propelling force. That propelling force is your mind or the intellect. If a person is able to do the actions out of calculation, thinking, and is able to do it out of the intellect, let us call it those actions as discriminative actions. To the extent possible, each one of us are at different levels of intellect. To the level that you are, you use your intellect and you think, foresee the consequences and perform the actions. It is emanating from your thinking rather than mere emotions. That is discriminative actions. On the other hand, mind-driven actions are impulsive actions. What I feel like doing, I do. Today, I don't feel like, coming to class, I don't come. Or today, suddenly I call a class and let's discuss, and suddenly I change the topic. Why? It is just my impulse. I don't have any reason or rhyme for that, but I just do the action based on my impulse of the mind. That action is called as an impulsive action. So in this chart, use D for discriminative actions, I for impulsive actions. At point A, hypothetical case. Hypothetical means achievable but very rare, very, very rare. 100% of your actions are discriminative in nature and 0% is impulsive. That means all the actions that you do is intellect-driven actions. Highly improbable, but assume. And that person who does like this is called as a sane person. That the type of persons that we deal here, the names given do not go by the dictionary definition, go by the spirit of what it is. Sane means a normal person. That means what? A normal human being is one, or a human being among human being is one who is always using his intellect. That's all it means. See, this does not mean that he doesn't have emotions or feelings or anything. Actions and decisions are driven only by your intellect. So he is the same person at point A. At point B, if he is doing 75%, general numbers these are, okay, 75% of his actions are discriminative, but 25% of his actions are impulsive, then he may be called as an emotional person. Again, don't go by the dictionary definitions of these words. The spirit of the word emotional here is that by and large he is okay, but little bit of stress and strain has started creeping into his personality, but generally is okay. At point C, it is 50-50. That means 50% of the time he operates from the intellect, his decisions and actions are from emanating from there, and 50% of the time he is very impulsive. He doesn't know what he is doing, suddenly he will do something like that. It is that person can be called as an eccentric person. Morning he will normally go to office, evening what mood he will come, nobody knows. Like that it is. Extremely unpredictable behavior. And therefore the stress, strain, everything in his personality has crept up considerably. At point D, he may be called as an hysterical person. A person, 25% only, he operates based on intellect. Most of the time, impulsive behavior. He may be even in a big position and nothing, but always shouting and froth and everything is completely, you cannot relate with that person easily. Maybe even for him to keep himself normal, he has to take in pills and other thing like that. It does. He becomes hysterical, extreme stress and strain. And point E is also very rare, insane, opposite of sane. 100% impulsive, mad person. He doesn't have intellect at all. Suddenly laughing, suddenly crying, tearing his clothes, running naked on the streets. What do you say all this? That is a, he simply does whatever he is doing. That's all. There is no explanation for that. Insanity. You understand what he is going through. Poor person. Poor, you can sympathize with him, but he may not know. All of us are somewhere in the chart between E and A. And of course, our aim is also to go from E to A wherever we are. What is interesting here is, suppose, in fact, there is no hard and fast rule, or there is no, we can say, a statistic which is documented. But in his long tenure, in his long experience of addressing variegated audiences from Auckland to Toronto and all parts of India and various audiences in the world, and you know that he is 94 now, more than 60 years he has been traveling and meeting various types of people. And wherever he has addressed such an issue and posed this question, that in this chart, where do you think most of the people in the world will fit in? Majority. Most of the times he has got the answer B and C. That means somewhere between B and C is where most of us fit in. And that is why probably still there is somewhat the world is running. Imagine if everybody were on the right side of the chart, that will be total chaos actually. Okay. Now, if assume a person is at 60-40 level, what it means is that, how do you interpret that, is that if a person is 60% discriminative and 40% impulsive, that does not mean that he is operating at 60% of his capacity. He is operating much less than that, because the problem that is caused by that 40% impulsive behavior has to be offset also by your intellect. Therefore, he may well operate below 50% of his optimum capacity. So that means if you are not attending to this aspect of your personality, your productivity goes by less than 50%, which is criminal waste of your own energy. We are talking about a person who is sort of good, like that it is. Therefore, we have to understand that always our actions has to emanate from intellect, and that intellect induced actions which have the mind, which has the mind under control, which is able to direct it, which is able to channelize the emotion, that will be a much productive life. So this is a very interesting chart as to what can stress and strain do to your life. So with reference to control of stress, definitely you have to discipline your desires first in order to reduce stress. So first and foremost thing is to first have a awareness of stress, that I am stressed. And suppose if a person is coughing, blood is coming out, but he is still not aware that he has some serious problem inside, what can any medicine do to him? Medicine means how will he take even any medicine? You are a great doctor, you have the medicine, you know his problem, but he is not aware, he is not even ready to listen to you. What can you do? So first and foremost thing obviously is to aware at least that I am stressed and I need to, this is not how my life should be. I must first have a life which is free from stress. And most importantly, as we said, if person has taken to be stress and strain to be part and parcel of life, a corporate life means stress has to be there. Politics means stress has to be there. If you have taken that it has to be there and nothing can be done about it, then nothing can be done about it. Because you are taking that stance. At least doubt. You need not be convinced now, but at least doubt. Can there be a state where I can do all these actions, I can still pursue whatever I want to pursue, but without the stress? Is it possible? Is it, then only we can even imagine the state of, in the Avaduta Gita, we saw that person with absolutely having nothing in the world and smiling without a cause. You can't even imagine that picture. But you can go up to that state is the assurance of Vedanta. Up to that state where you may not be even you may not be even knowing where your next meal can come from, yet nobody can touch your state of mind. To that extent you can raise yourself is the assurance of Vedanta, but for which you have to firmly first believe, firmly get convinced that there is a life possible without stress and without compromising whatever I am wanting to achieve in the world and all. It's not that, I don't want to meet with accident, so I will not use car at all. No, that's not the, you have to use the car, but you have to drive fast. At the same time, I can drive fast. At the same time, I can have full control. This is a training. This is a conviction first you must have. Like that it is. After that awareness comes that first I need to work on how to reduce stress. Yes, I have stress. It is now overpowering me. I'm not able to be normal. I need to have these things under my control. Other aspects of jealousy and various other host of emotions which are causing this negative emotions in me, that needs to be under control. Therefore, I need to first of all, in the previous chart, what we saw is transfer all my desires into an aim or aspiration in such a way I am able to discipline my desires. So if I'm able to discipline my desires, I will be able to combat this. And then comes thinking of even eradicating desires and eliminating stress. This is a lifetime achievement if you are able to do it, lifetime goal, or you need to have an extreme focus on self-realization to do it. That comes later. But first, we need to rectify ourselves in the present scenario. Now, keeping this in mind, you need to work on development of the intellect, but it is again a long-term process. You need to do your early morning study, all those things. But in the short term, can I do something to get rid of the stress on a short-term basis? Yes, you can do it. Again, we are not giving some ad hoc solutions. This also requires intellect, but this is very basic intellect and common sense. That is enough. That is more than enough to combat stress at the level that we are caught up in, that a person may be stressed for unwanted reasons, silly reasons. We'll go through that if in the time available now. Most of the time, what causes stress is lack of assessment. See, when you are, let's say, you need not assess each and every person in the world. You need to assess those relationships which you are obliged to contact on a regular basis. You need to assess your wife, your husband, your children, the city that you live in general, what is the climate there, the office that you work in general, that's all. You need to, okay, if a person is irritated by the let's say, wife's behavior in the, okay, first it is all a very romantic courtship period, because only the one aspect of both the persons they see, and then after marriage only you tend to see the other aspects and all. So therefore what happens is that in the first few instances after marriage you may get affected by the other person's behavior, but having lived that with that partner, you will know that now 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, whatever be the time, you know what are the characteristics of that person, and to assess this you don't need a giant intellect. So therefore that amount of intellect is enough to assess that person and accept that person as he is or as she is. The problem comes only when we want others to fit into our mental pattern, where it is stemming from the lack of assessment. You may ask, should I not correct the other person? Is it not something wrong? Yes, you can. But at any point of time, just as you are a product of your past karma, which has taken shape over a long period of time, exactly like that, other person is a product of his or her karma and her gunas, which has brought to that situation over a period of time. So correction itself is going to take long time. Even if you want to correct, you have to keep your mind calm at that point of time. But that is not happening. Others' behavior is affecting me now, and in that extreme agitated state of mind, whatever even I try for solutions, it will only result in spoiling the situation further. So it is just that I need to assess if, and in this tip is that all of us are having our pluses and minuses. You ask a person, how is your husband or wife? My wife may have 10 good qualities, but my mind tends to focus on that one or two weakness or drawback and say, whatever it is, she has to correct that. That is what I will say. That is not the way to actually even build your relationship. Focus on the positivities. Genuinely try to appreciate it, and when you focus on that, the other aspects actually go out of your sight. Go out of your sight means it becomes blurred. You know, so in fact, this is the way to even develop bonding and relationship properly. So if a person is having a particular character, accept him or her as he is or as she is. So if you have that lack of assessment, then what you have is unreasonable expectations, and it is this unreasonable expectation that cause disappointments. So if I have assessed my boss to be like this, then let's say he is of that caliber that he has to shout daily. You have to give that 5 minutes to him daily, because he's so much stressed and short tempered, and this thing, it is in a way that he sort of gives it to others. He has to shout. Okay, and in that hierarchy you are below him. Sometimes you also do to your children, isn't it? Sometimes you don't know where to take your frustration. You shout on children because at that point of time they cannot shout back at you, and that is why all the karma will pay back when they grow up. That is different. So at the helpless people who are below you, you let loose your stress. So in the office it is like that. He lets loose on you, and one day it is maybe a little more, and what happened is that you are extremely agitated and frustrated about it. And so what happened? You also shout back at him that day, and do there's a, and maybe he then dismisses you out of job. Who now next 6 months you are looking for another job. Now all this is, see, you have been working under that boss. You know him. Not only you know, others also know him. But what is it that is causing stress? Just analyze the situation. That day he shouted maybe a little more, and in front of others. So you are actually, you will say it is on, no, my self-esteem is gone. Actually, what is, if you analyze it properly, it is self-esteem, and all this is big words that we use. Basically, my ego is hurt. That's all it is. My ego is hurt. I'm not able to take it. See, to give whatever he is giving is his prerogative, as I said, particularly with reference to his position also. But we have to develop intellect only to such an extent that you are able to objectively listen to it. I mean, you listen to it from one ear and release it out of the other ear. You must be able to switch off. Just take 5 minutes. All that it requires, all the heat of the moment and everything, allow it to just cool down for 5 minutes. That's all. If you are too much not able to take, just go drink a cup of water. That's all that you need to do. And you will find that in 5 minutes, everything is resolved. And independently after that, you ask even your colleagues who are there at that point of time as to what they thought out the situation, everybody will say that he's a mad fellow. He will shout daily. Everybody knows about him. So actually, if you analyze whose self-esteem is gone, if at all there is a self-esteem, it is the boss self-esteem which is gone. But unnecessarily you take upon yourself. So somebody gives chili that is sweet, it is his prerogative. You take it and you eat it, then only it becomes your problem. Exactly like that, instead of sweet, somebody is able to give green chilies. That also you have a choice to take it or not take it. So not taking it is in your hands. So therefore, all this can come if you have assessed. Say, suppose in the morning itself you are prepared. Today is going to shout. Imagine you did not know that situation that day, but you go with that thing that today is going to shout. And that point of time, you keep your face in a very poker face, you came and you listen, yes, yes, and all that thing you say. After that, you may come to your cabin and laugh also at the situation. It's only that what makes the difference is that preparation. That's all it is. Now, it is all easy for us to talk in a class like that, but when that heat of that moment, when that situation comes, that time you cannot see a person. In fact, a critical time came when his father was requiring oxygen, and they were doing something in the cylinder in the house, and suddenly he has to go to the hospital and get it. There was no supply. There was so much confusion and chaos in the house and so much stressful situation. Um, and in the process, something happened, might have happened also, tragedy might have happened. But that same situation, that person recalls 10 years later, and he said, I was in my night dress, and that person was wanting, he is not making a joke out of his father's death or tragedy, but he's saying at that situation, he was jumping here and there, not knowing what to do. That has become a joke for himself. He himself sees that as a joke, but when 10 years later, at that point of time, it was a very critical situation, a crisis situation. Like that, at that point of time, everything becomes a crisis. But this is where your intellect strength comes in, that you need to assess beforehand. And this does not, the city that you are, if it is Calcutta, what is the climate? I need to assess within a year or so, I should be able to do it. Even after 21 years, I'm complaining of the same traffic jam. Then it is not, the problem is not with the traffic jam, it is with me. It is not with the boss, it is with me. It is not with my wife or CPM or BJP or anything, it is with me. It is actually my lack of assessment that is causing the problem. Yes, only when I'm able to assess like this and keep my mind calm can I even attend to the situation. So, for your own sake, you have to make proper assessment. So, there is a quotation here, all grumbling is tantamount to oh. Why is Lily not an oak? Lily will be a lily, oak will be a oak. Just understand it. That's all. Mother will be a mother and mother-in-law will be a mother-in-law. You have to understand it. Now the onus is upon you, because you are sitting in a class, you are in a Vedanta class. Do not expect that why he is not doing it. He is not wanting to learn Vedanta, right? He is not wanting to improve himself. You have taken the decision. So always the onus is upon you. So if you have this if you have this earnestness that you need to be out of stress, onus is upon you to take that initiative. Let us quickly go through a couple of other points. So one is this lack of assessment or wrong assessment, regrets of the past. Most of the time we are stressed based on what happened in the past long back. I should not have done this, I should not have done that. Okay, a certain amount of regret has to be there so that you are able to have that awareness to learn from it, that's all. And then you have to move forward. If I had studied Sanskrit, probably it would have helped me in what I'm doing now. But I didn't study Sanskrit in my school days. Okay, now what I have to do now, how best I can learn Sanskrit or how best I can substitute something for that is what I need to focus on. Not always saying I didn't learn, I didn't learn, I didn't learn. I mean, that is not going to take me anywhere. So, past is fate accomplished. You cannot go and change the past at all. So, therefore, you have to wipe out the past and use that energy to focus on what is to be done in the present. Exactly like that, hopes or anxiety for the future. Many a times, see, next day, whether we live or not is also not in our hands. That is the unpredictability of the future. That's the beauty of the whole system or whole nature. Okay, you need to have some goal, some plan, some idea. To that extent, you focus on what is your target. Because unless otherwise there's a target, you cannot go. But then constantly thinking of what is going to happen, the fruit always we are lingering on, it only takes your energy away. It is not going to help you in any way. Plus, most of the time, what we think about as very many tragedies of future and this and that, which makes the mind stressed and depressed, it is all camouflaged with reference to the problems of the world. You know what? Glaciers are melting. There will not be river. Ganga will be dry. Oil will go in 25 years. Nuclear warfare will come. Corona will wipe away half the population. You know, it can be anything. That you, if you have that picture in your mind, then maybe we should all commit collective suicide today. That is better. You know, that sort of analysis or conclusion we can come to. But that's not the case. When you even worry about the world's problem, most of the times, you know what it is? It is that problem, how it is actually affecting me. I am worried about that. Suppose if there is going to be really glacier and water problem, but I am guaranteed that where I am staying and all to my folks, if there's not going to be any water shortage, this water problem I will not think of. If my car and my transport is guaranteed petrol till the time that I live, I will not worry about oil problem and petrol problem of the world. Why is the petrol problem a big problem? Because it will ultimately affect my car. Why is that nuclear problem is a great problem? Because what will happen if nuclear bomb falls on my head? That's all is the problem. So therefore, most of the time it is centered around what will happen to me. The thought of the me has to go, and that is where he says you have to reduce the ego. What a egoistic person can never be stress-free. Let us be clear about it. Even if he doesn't have past or the future, constant thought of this I, me, I know what I did this, I'm taking this class, I know this. Constant thought of oneself, and that person can never be a happy person. In various ways this ego manifests. We have seen this all in detail. I'm not going into therefore in detail, but it is working on reducing one's ego, humility, associating yourself with highly evolved persons and knowledgeable persons. I mean, just think of those people who are able to confront all situations with a smile. That is what you need to relate to. That is what you need to tell yourself. And this ego further manifests itself as complex, which we have dealt in detail when we studied that poem, Mountain and the Squirrel. Constantly, I'm tossed between this inferiority and superiority. With the persons who are lower than me, I feel great and inferior. And with the persons who are above me, I feel with the persons who are lower than me, I feel superior. And the people who are above me, whether it is knowledge, whether it is money, whether it is various things, I feel extremely inferior. Oh, he knows English, I don't know English. He knows Sanskrit, I don't know Sanskrit. All this, the root cause of all this is comparison. Comparison. Why do you have to compare yourself with others? You are unique. You have got talent. And that is what that poem says. The squirrel tells the mountain, see, if at all a comparison is there, remember this. There are two ways in which we compare. One of the great saints says, comparison is a very, natural phenomenon. Everybody in the world compares. And what do we tend to compare? Always we tend to compare ourselves with others who are above us in terms of material prosperity. I may be a millionaire, I may be a billionaire, but my eyes are always on somebody who is little above than me, and then I'm feeling stressed about it. Okay. On the other hand, psychologically, when it is coming to a spiritual comparison, a spiritual growth in that comparison, we tend to unconsciously compare ourselves with somebody who is lower than us and feel satisfied. You may say, sir, I get up at 6 o'clock, but look at that fellow, he gets up at 10 o'clock. Something like that. Then you feel that you are great or you are somewhat better than him in terms of, he shouts all the time. At least I lose my temper only once in a while. Something like that you say, and you feel somewhat better than him. Because you tend to compare yourself with somebody who is lower than you in your spiritual status. This saint says, okay, To not to have that comparison is the best thing. In fact, that is the ideal situation. But if you have comparison, at least use it positively. How to use it positively? With reference to your material prosperity and other things, compare yourself with somebody lower than you. God has put you in a position where you are having 3 meals a day comfortably. You are having a good house to stay, good relationship, and then other people are being provided to you. There are people who are starving, who are not even getting 2 square meals, and you are talking about not having a second car or something ridiculous that is. So therefore, if you compare yourself with somebody less than you, your mind tends to feel content at that level. That is a great relief, actually. That's a great relief. And plus, he says, with reference to spiritual quotient, if you want to call that, compare yourself with somebody who is higher than you. Why don't you feel jealous about Swami Vivekananda? Oh, he is there at that stage. I am not here. Why don't you feel that's a positive jealousy? I am saying. Why don't you say that I must become like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa or Swami Ramatirtha? There we don't. We all worship from a distance and keep quiet, and we only talk about those people who we easily are better off. No, like not like that. Positively compare yourself with somebody who is above you and take it as an inspiration. Take that as an inspiration. So I had no shoes and complained until I met a man who had no feet. I did not have shoe and I was complaining and complaining. But I met a man who had no feet at all. Mountain the Squirrel says, last 3 lines are important. Talents differ. All is well and wisely put. If I cannot carry forest on my back, neither can you crack a nut. The squirrel says to the mountain, yes, you make a pretty squirrel track. Okay. You can carry forest. I agree, I cannot carry forest on my back. But can you crack this nut? That is not possible. So each and everybody is provided with a talent. You be content with your talent and use that talent to move further. Lastly, since we said about eradication of stress, this we cannot go in detail, but this is the point. In order to discipline your desires, the path of Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. Karma Yoga, use your actions to reduce the quantity of desires. Bhakti Yoga, use your mind in the path of devotion to improve the quality of desires. Jnana Yoga, use your intellect to change the direction of desires. If all these are done properly, then we reach the state of renunciation or meditation. If we can very clearly say in a way that a renunciate will never be stressed. Renunciate in the proper sense of the term, not a person who puts on ochre robe. If your mind is elevated at that level, still you are there. Even Swami Ramatirtha talks about his experience, that longing for that union with the self, he is there. But you cannot say he was stressed or something like that. That yearning, that wanting to have merger with God. So you are operating at a different level of desires there. That renunciate when he gets into meditation and reaches that state of self-realization or God realization, that is when we are completely free from desires. Zero desires. So you reach that state of infinite, which is absolute freedom from stress. Thank you very much. Open motion.
Poornam Adah, Poornamidam, Poornat Poornamudachyate, Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.